All right, welcome. We are backstage here with Muse right after the show, just finished. And I've seen you guys a couple of times, and you top it every time. Presentation and the music itself, it was absolutely amazing.
Cool. Thank you very much.
And thank you for doing this like right after the show, because I'm sure
nice.
you guys are pretty spent at this
A
point.
little bit spent it.
A little bit. Well, let's get right into this. One of the first things I wanted to ask you about is, well, you personally, I know you had kind of had exogenesis in the back of your head for a bit. How and why was this the right album to put it on?
I think it's because it was a self-production. I think because we produced the album ourselves. I think most producers would hear that and say that's just not, that's not a rock set. That's not a rock track. You know what I mean, so
You're being weird.
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly. Yeah. So I think it's because we were self-producing. I think we could sort of get away with whatever we wanted to. So we had total freedom in the studio. We had almost too much freedom. Because we had to sort of argue amongst ourselves, try and organise what we wanted to do.
Right.
But I think we all were very open-minded to just try anything. So I think it's probably because there's no producer around that we ended up doing it on this album. Yeah.
And so what's obviously that's something that really pushes the sound of the album and challenges the listeners. I mean, what would you guys say is like the next thing that you really want to step up into?
As to what we do in the future, it's hard to tell, really. Every album's, approached very, very separately from the last. Mm-hmm. We always seem to find like little doors and avenues within an album that we feel we might want to follow further or take further in the future.
Okay.
I don't know, there were so many new things on this album for us that we've done, like the symphony, that being so kind of classical or something,
right.
That
sure.
was, and having huge orchestra, that was something that was really, really exciting, really challenging to do, to bring it into, a kind of three-piece rock band, kind of, ultimately.
Exactly.
That was a really new thing. Could be great to pursue that. We'd certainly like to do some performances of a whole orchestra, of that song, all three pieces as well. Things like Undisclosed Desires, which is very, very electronic, programmed, very different kind of thing that we've tackled in the studio. That would also be something that we might want to pursue in the future. But really, every album, I guess we tour for a long time, then we like to finish, take a break, start a new chapter,
right,
and then get back together and see what ideas are floating around and see how we can take it forward, because that way we feel like we're doing something different from the past.
Well, in talking about the future, now I want to step back to the past. The States were a little slow to pick up on Muse. I got showbiz. I was onto it then.
Nice.
But, do you feel like now in your career that you come to the States and there were songs that they missed from you guys that you feel like, I wish they had been able to pick up on this track? Because we did this 2 albums ago, 3 albums ago, yeah whatever.
The ultimate test is when I try and get the crowd to sing along to Plug In Baby, which is off the second album, which wasn't even released here.
Right.
I think it got released recently or something, but it wasn't released at the time that it was released in Europe. And but it's really funny because playing gigs tonight, and I sort of get everyone to sing along on that song, and everyone sings along, so they've all got it somewhere. Somehow they heard that song. Yeah.
Now, are there other ones that you feel like that you guys really had something and it just didn't pick up on the States?
We don't really dare play anything off the first album over here.
No?
Yeah.
I'd like to, though.
Which one?
The first album did come out over here on time, but we never really spent any time touring here, and then the label was a bit weird. There's a bit weird setup and situation there, so the second album never came out. But I'd like to pull out some older ones. We've done Sunburn quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we probably played it over here in the past, but we haven't done on this tour. But, there's things like, Muscle Museum.
I was going to say, Muscle Museum was
we haven't played
single.
that for ages. We weren't even playing that in Europe.
Maybe we should give that a go.
But I'd like to try it, because I think it'd be.
I would sing along. I would.
Yeah, it'd have a whole new life.
As soon as I heard it. Yeah. Well, one of the other things that I saw in an interview, actually, that you guys did, I think it was in 2007, and I think one of you made a statement about right before you get on stage, that even at that point in your career, you still felt like, okay, this is overwhelming. This is too heavy. And I think even made the quote, "I don't want to do this." I don't know if you remember this interview, or do you even feel like that?
That sounds like probably me hungover or something.
Yeah.
Oh well, I think.
Yeah, I don't want to do this as in an interview, right?
I don't think I'd refer to playing on stage, and I've always wanted to do that. I'm not sure what I'd have to see the interview to remember, but
I'll send it to you.
Sometimes you get a bit, we still get nervous before we go on. And,
right.
we were just saying today when walking to the stage, you were saying,
I know
that feeling never changes.
Maybe we're saying
that feeling never changes when you
maybe
walk
referring to No, you sometimes have like whenever you step up a gear. Like the first time we played like the arena, we were opening up for Foo Fighters and Chili Peppers in Paris. This was about 11 years ago.
Right.
And I remember that being like so sort of nervous beforehand that you think to yourself, I don't know if I can do this. I think that's what I said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I've had that feeling a couple of times. I remember like Wembley Stadium. Just before going on, you sort of think to yourself, can you actually do that? Like because you question sometimes whether when you step up a gear like that, just in a sort of not in a way like not in a jaded way, just in a sort of like can you get to that? Can you get to that level that everybody's expecting? And but what happens is you go out there and there's something that goes on that the crowd sort of gives you some kind of energy, and I think there is something mysterious in that realm that we don't know about, because I know that I'm probably quite not necessarily that an outgoing person, but
it switches on
but
stage.
As soon as you walk on stage, something happens, and it's I don't know what it is. Something to do with feeding off the crowd, because if there's no crowd there, I can't do any of that stuff.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of artists say that the energy is very cyclical. If you have an audience that gives to you, you can throw it right back at them. But likewise, if they feel withdrawn, you're like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
It can happen, yeah. But you normally find that, it can, you can get it going. It can come from us first, and as soon as that goes, the crowd feed, and then, then you start getting that cycle starts working. But
right.
Yeah, you just got to turn it on and have fun up there, I suppose.
That's the point.
Which we do.
Now, one of the other things I noticed that I haven't seen before, I've seen you guys a couple of times, is I saw a fourth guy up there.
Yeah.
Tell us about the addition.
Morgan Nichols. Yeah.
We've had him for the last 2 albums.
Okay.
On tour,
yeah.
that is, just playing the keyboards. And I suppose really, it's because in the studio when we were doing Black Holes and Revelations, we weren't really afraid to tackle anything, and we found ourselves making music that had way more instruments than just the three of us could play.
Right.
It's basically me. I was just getting carried away with stuff,
Yeah, and
pianos, keyboards, synths, and guitars.
Exactly, yeah. Because we don't hold back in the studio. We like to just do what's right for the music, and if we got ideas, just throw lots of stuff at the track. Lots of different instrumentation at the track and different ideas. And normally we find that you cut stuff out during the mix. But we were kind of left with in a position where we just needed someone else to play with us, to kind of do some key melodies and things. Well, on a piano, for example, while Matt's playing a guitar, so I had to step it up.
Is there anything in the studio that you guys have felt like, because I understand from both of you that you really try and challenge yourselves, is there a track on this last album that you still kind of stand back and go, I didn't think that one was actually going to come together, one that you're particularly proud of?
Undisclosed Desires, I think, was one that didn't really expect it to come out that way. It was a track that we sort of were going to work on as being more like a sort of guitar-based rock track, not rock, but kind of like sort of acoustic-y, guitar-y type thing, and it ended up becoming like a sort of electronic, totally electronic, sort of almost dance music style, R&B style.
Right.
So that was one that surprised me. That I really liked the song, and I think it's possibly giving us a little window into something new that we could investigate in the future. So that was one that I'd say I'm proud of, because we all did things that we didn't expect on that song. Like Chris was playing like slap bass, which we normally laugh at. if someone plays like 70s slap bass, or 80s slap bass, normally just go, no, you can't do that. The only person who can get away with that is Flea. And that's about it.
Exactly. That's who I always think of first.
And that's about it. And so Chris played some slap bass on it, and Don was fiddling around on his computer, coming up with drum beats and stuff. And I was putting together like string arrangements and things, and basically these sort of completely different approaches came together and created a sort of very unusual song for us, I think.
And do you feel like there was one personally other than Undisclosed Desires, or do you feel like that one? Do you agree?
Well, certainly that song. The symphony again is a big challenge, which we mentioned, and we kind of again were never sure whether it would even fit on an album, but it worked out. I'm really fond of United States of Eurasia, because I feel like that's just sounds very Muse to me.
It's got a lot of power behind
it feels like, because we've often done tracks that are kind of piano, bass and drums, I suppose, like piano led, like Feeling Good, Space Dementia, and all sorts of tracks like Apocalypse Please in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And but I feel like that song kind of we got the piano side of Muse right, the kind of piano rock side of Muse kind of pretty captured well in that song. So I'm proud of that. But the whole thing, all of it, kind of pretty pleased. I think we're the most proud of this one because, like we said, we had to dig a little bit deeper maybe than normal to kind of get it all done.
Absolutely. And the last question I wanted to ask, I've also noticed in a couple of interviews you've talked about things that you read about, pretty far out conspiracy theory kind of stuff. And I love a good conspiracy theory myself. My problem is I'm sure that they're not theories. So, I mean, what are you into right now?
Well, I sort of had a. I don't necessarily believe all these things. I just like reading about them. It's like a hobby. I mean,
So the Queen isn't a lizard.
I'm sort of.
I heard about that
I don't
one.
really believe she is, but I'm intrigued in sort of the madness that people have to sort of try and explain reality. Because whether or not it's true or not, I don't really care. I just quite enjoy it. Even if it's fiction, I just quite enjoy that kind of thing. Our live album. We've done a couple of live albums, live concert DVDs. We did one called HAARP, which is
got it.
HAARP, High Active Oral Research Program. That was kind of what we based our set design on as well for Wembley Stadium as well. There's some major conspiracy theories going on about that right now regarding natural disasters. So. Just type in HAARP, HAARP.
I looked at that
and natural disasters, and you'll find some. Even Chavez has come out. Chavez is crazy. He's a crazy dude.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like he's into a lot of these conspiracy theories, but he's come out and said that he thinks that's.
Because I was wondering if that was, I was like, is that coincidence? It's the same thing? And then I thought, there's no way that's coincidence. That it was very intentional. You guys named it that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I tend to sort of, I get quite into sort of fringe conspiracy theories that some other people don't know about, like that one.
Mm-hmm.
Way back, 3 or 4 years ago, that was being talked about as being something that's going to be used for controlling weather, but also becoming a super weapon for creating natural disasters. And it was invented by, the original concept was invented by Tesla. So I researched all about that years ago, but a lot of people now think that stuff's actually getting used. I'm not saying I think that, but there's lots of people out there that say that it does, and Hugo Chavez is one of them.
I'm almost afraid to read it because I won't sleep at night. I'll just be like, oh. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I know you guys have had a long day and a long night, and we hope to see you back in Philly very soon.
Sorry, a little bit tired, but
hey, that's fine.
We're very chilled right now. We're just done the show, so we're like quite
relaxed.
And
I think somebody just lit up some incense, so I'm feeling.
Just back off.
To be honest, that smells like Chris's cigar.
Talk about
Oh, is that what it is?
It might be, yeah.
And there's dancing. All right,
cigar.
so obviously there's going to be a house party after this. Again, thank you so much for coming out here tonight.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.